Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. Hamas backs US peace framework with conditions, seeks prisoner swap and role in Gaza governance for hostages release. Sanae Takaichi is set to become Japan's first female prime minister. She pledges a new era after her historic LDP leadership triumph. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches youth initiatives worth 62,000 crore rupees to boost education, skilling and entrepreneurship. And a new era begins in Indian cricket, with Shubman Gill at the helm as ODI captain as well, completing a generational shift across major formats. Early Saturday, explosions echoed over Gaza just hours after Hamas conditionally accepted key terms of a US-led ceasefire plan. President Donald Trump's 20-point proposal, once seen as a long shot, is now at the center of renewed hope and high-stakes diplomacy. But Hamas's acceptance comes with demands, and Israel is preparing to act. Here's how the story unfolds.
A blast echoed across Gaza early Saturday morning, October 4th, smoke rising into the sky, a tense moment as the region appears on the brink of a potential ceasefire. Hamas has conditionally accepted key elements of a US-brokered peace plan led by President Donald Trump. The group has agreed to release all Israeli hostages, both living and deceased, but only under specific terms. Among Hamas's demands, an immediate halt to Israeli military operations in Gaza, the release of 250 Palestinians serving life sentences, release of 1,700 Gazans detained after October 7th attacks, and for every deceased Israeli hostage, the return of 15 deceased Gazans.
I'm really happy if the plan comes to action and the hostages come free, but I'll believe it when I see it. I'm very reluctant to think that something might not go wrong along the way before it actually happens.
The proposal also calls for a phased withdrawal of Israeli forces tied to demilitarization benchmarks. Hamas has agreed to transfer Gaza's administration to a technocratic Palestinian body formed by national consensus and backed by Arab and Islamic nations. However, it insists on remaining part of any future Palestinian political framework, something voices on the street are not overtly in support of.
We do not want a deal like that with Lebanon, where they have assassinated more than 500 people since the ceasefire. We want a deal that completely stops the war and grant access to aid for the civilians. As for the ruling party that may rule Gaza, there is nothing wrong with a technocratic entity.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office responded swiftly, announcing preparations for the immediate implementation of the plan's first stage.
If this initiative fails, for all its faults, at least in focusing on the ceasefire terms and then leaving the day after questions for later, as long as he's open for that and is willing to pull the muscle behind it, then I think we can actually see the US play that constructive role.
President Trump's 20-point peace blueprint demands that Hamas fully disarm and relinquish any role in Gaza's future governance.
I want to thank the countries that helped me put this together: Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and so many others. So many people fought so hard. This is a big day. We'll see how it all turns out. We have to get the final word down in concrete.
The Trump plan envisions a temporary international authority overseeing Gaza, with eventual control handed to the West Bank-based Palestinian Authority. As smoke clears over Gaza, the world watches closely, hopeful that diplomacy may finally silence the guns. Bureau Report, DD India.
The global leaders call for dialogue and an end to violence as attention shifts to implementing the Gaza peace plan and also securing a lasting resolution through ceasefire and humanitarian access. Let's look at this report.
Global support for Gaza peace plan surged on Saturday after Hamas announced its decision to accept parts of US proposed Gaza peace plan. Leaders from across the globe, including European Union chief to French President Macron and country heads of UK, Spain, Canada, Australia and Germany, welcomed the move as a crucial step toward lasting peace. India also voiced strong support for the Gaza peace plan, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised its progress. In a post on X, PM Modi wrote that we welcome President Trump's leadership as peace efforts in Gaza make decisive progress. Indications of the release of hostages mark a significant step forward. India will continue to strongly support all efforts towards a durable and just peace. Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, encouraged Hamas's recent decision, expressing support for all initiatives aimed at preventing further suffering. UN Rights Chief Volker Turk described Trump's Gaza peace plan as a vital opportunity to stop the long-standing conflict once and for all. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen called for an immediate ceasefire, while French President Emmanuel Macron termed it an opportunity to make decisive progress towards peace. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Prime Ministers of UK, Canada and Australia echoed their commitment to end the conflict and to work towards peace and security in the region with a sustainable two-state solution. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan lauded Hamas's response and urged Israel to stop its military operations.
We welcome the response that Hamas gave to Mr. Trump's peace plan. As it has done so many times in the past, Hamas has shown it is ready for peace.
Qatar and Egypt also hailed the move, urging a ceasefire, the release of hostages and humanitarian aid. The widespread international reaction to Hamas's announcement has sparked a wave of optimism, with leaders urging all parties to seize this rare window of opportunity to bring a definitive end to the over 2-year-long conflict. Bureau Report, DD India.
The 64-year-old conservative leader, Sanai Takaichi, is set to become Japan's first female prime minister after winning the ruling Liberal Democratic Party's leadership, a landmark moment in the country's male-dominated political history. Takaichi hailed her victory as a new era and laid out her priorities as the incoming Prime Minister. Raghav Kumar Jha reports.
Former Economic Security Minister of Japan, Sanai Takaichi, has been elected the first female president of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party on Saturday. The 64-year-old politician is famous as a hardline leader with focus on national defense and economic security. Once confirmed by the parliament, Takaichi will be the country's first woman prime minister. A vote is expected in Japan's parliament on October 15th to choose a prime minister to replace Shigeru Ishiba. Takaichi hailed a new era on Saturday after winning the leadership of Japan's ruling party, putting her on course to become the country's first woman prime minister. She also outlined her priorities for Japan's economic growth.
The most important thing is to unleash Japan's full potential and achieve economic growth. Without it, we cannot provide the necessary social welfare services or high-quality education. People's daily lives will not improve and everyone will lose their sense of hope. That is why we will prioritize economic growth above all else.
Talking to media persons, Takaichi said that she will make all efforts to ensure that US tariff on Japan is lowered.
Regarding the Japan-US trade deal, we will honor the bilateral agreements that have been reached, including tariffs and investments.
Takaichi earned 185 votes against Koizumi's 156 in a runoff after none of the 5 candidates in the party leadership race secured a majority in the first round of voting. She will serve the remainder of Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's 3-year term through September 2027. Born on March 7, 1961, the Nara prefecture in Japan, Takaichi's mother was a police officer and her father worked in the automotive industry. She graduated from Kobe University in 1984 with a business degree. In 1993, she began her political career and got elected as an independent to the lower parliamentary chamber. Later in 1996, she joined the LDP. During Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's first term, Takaichi served as the Minister of State in 5 portfolios, and in his second term, Takaichi selected for Internal Affairs and Communications Ministry. Takaichi also ran for Prime Minister twice, before in 2021 and in 2024. If elected Prime Minister, Takaichi will face a host of complex issues, including an aging population, geopolitical upheaval, a faltering economy, and growing unease about immigration. However, first of all, she will have to ensure that the LDP, which has governed almost non-stop since 1955, retains voters' trust. Raghav Kumar Jha reports for DD India.
And still to come here on DD India News Hour. The White House warns of mass layoffs as shutdown continues into next week. The former Prime Minister Andrej Babis ahead in the Czech election after 90% of the districts report. And the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is visiting India on October 8 and 9, his first official visit to India since taking office. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. The US government remains in partial shutdown as political deadlock in Congress shows no signs of easing. President Trump's funding plan has been rejected for the 4th time, with Democrats holding firm on healthcare demands. Federal services are disrupted and nearly 750,000 workers are furloughed. Here's a detailed report on the ongoing crisis and how it compares to past shutdowns.
The US government shutdown is expected to continue into next week after Senate Republicans led by President Trump faced a 4th rejection of their funding proposal. Federal agencies have been without funding since Wednesday, forcing the closure of tourist sites, delaying economic data, and placing around 750,000 federal workers on furlough. At the center of the deadlock is a Democratic demand to extend expiring healthcare subsidies, a demand Republicans have so far refused to include. With the Senate now adjourned for the weekend, a quick resolution appears unlikely.
On healthcare, they've decided to shut down the government rather than work with us. And they've decided they would rather make up lies about illegal immigrant than talk about the actual issue at stake. The reality that Republicans are letting premiums more than double. Newsflash, Republican areas are actually going to face some of the biggest price jumps if they refuse to save healthcare.
President Trump and GOP leaders have increased pressure on Democrats, threatening permanent layoffs and withholding funding. Federal agencies have also issued partisan messages blaming Democrats. Republicans in turn accuse Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer of prolonging the shutdown to gain favor with progressive voters ahead of the 2028 elections.
They have taken hostage the federal government and by extension the American people, who are the only losers in this. Everybody's talking about who wins and who loses and who gets the blame. That's not what this is about. This is about what's doing in the best interest of the American people.
Some centrist Republicans warn that the administration's strategy of freezing funds for Democratic-led states and using divisive rhetoric is creating a bad faith environment that could extend the shutdown further. The shutdown has already become the 5th longest in US history, Nearly $28 billion in infrastructure funds have been withheld from democratic states like New York, California, and Illinois. The longest shutdown began on December 22, 2018, under President Trump. It extended after 35 days when lawmakers passed a spending bill that excluded his demand for $5.7 billion in border wall funding. A budget dispute between President Bill Clinton and a Republican-led Congress led to a 22-day shutdown starting December 16, 1995. It ended on January 6, 1996. Under President Barack Obama, the government shut down in October 2013 after Republicans sought to delay or defund the Affordable Care Act. It ended after 16 days alongside a debt ceiling agreement. Ravinder Chauhan's report for DD India.
The U.S. government has put $2.1 billion in Chicago infrastructure projects on hold. Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vought has made this announcement, marking another jab at the Democratic-led city during the ongoing government shutdown. The funding freeze affects two major Chicago Transit Authority projects, the Red Line Extension and the Red and Purple Modernization Project. On Wednesday, Vought stated that President Donald Trump's administration had also frozen an additional $18 billion for major transit projects in New York, including the Hudson Tunnel and the 2nd Avenue subway, citing similar concerns. The Trump administration's Energy Department has also announced plans to cancel nearly $8 billion allocated for hundreds of energy projects across 16 Democratic-led states, including California and New York. During a news briefing at the White House, the press secretary Karoline Leavitt, she accused Democrats of holding Americans hostage over their demands.
Their discussions continue between the Office of Management and Budget and cabinet agencies across the board, and they are actively identifying where these cuts and these layoffs have to be made as this government shutdown hopefully does not continue.
The party of the billionaire ex-premier Andrej Babis led the Czech general election on Saturday with over 80% of the vote counted. According to interim figures, Babis's ANO, or Yes party, which campaigned on pledges of welfare and halting military aid to Ukraine, scored 36.5% of the vote in the country of 10.9 million people. The Together grouping of the outgoing Prime Minister Peter Fiala came second with 21.8%, ahead of its coalition partner STAN with 10.8%. The total of 6 parties looked on track to enter parliament, and the country is a member of both the EU and NATO, and Babis's return to power could draw the Czech Republic closer to EU mavericks, Hungary and Slovakia, which have refused military aid to Ukraine and also oppose sanctions on Russia. The Federal Minister of Germany's Interior, that is, Alexander Dobrindt, hosted a roundtable discussion with his European Union counterparts and the European Union Commissioner for Migration and Drone Threat on Saturday. The Commissioner, Magnus Brunner, participated as part of the Munich migration meeting. The talks focused on the reorganization of European migration policy and drone defense, as Munich airport disruption was the latest in a series of similar incidents that have rattled European aviation, raising concerns about deniable hybrid attacks on Ukraine's European allies. Two Russian drones struck trains at a railway station in Ukraine's northern Sumy region, killing 1 person and injuring about 30 others on Saturday. The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, condemned the attack, as he called it terrorism targeting civilians. Ukraine's foreign minister accused Russia of using a double tap tactic, striking rescuers and evacuees. The strikes damaged locomotives and carriages on local commuter and Kiev-bound trains. Ukraine's rail chief said Russia aims to make border areas like Shoshtka unsafe for passengers by targeting civilian traffic. Now, Moscow has also denied targeting civilians in Ukraine. The British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will visit India on Wednesday. This is at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. During the two-day visit of Starmer, the leaders will review progress on the India-UK Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, aligned with the Vision 2035. It's a roadmap which covers trade, technology, defense, climate, health, education, and people-to-people ties. They will engage with business leaders on opportunities under the India-UK Comprehensive Economic and Trade Partnership, the CETA, and they will discuss regional and global issues. Both Prime Ministers will also attend the 6th Global FinTech Fest in Mumbai, delivering keynote speeches and meeting industry experts. This visit follows Prime Minister Modi's trip to United Kingdom in July 2025 and aims to strengthen the bilateral partnership. India's Minister of State for Textiles, Pabitra Margarita, held a productive bilateral meeting with officials from Russia's Ministry of Industry and Trade and the Russian Union of Entrepreneurs of the textile and apparel industry during his visit to Moscow on Friday. The discussions focused on cooperation in raw materials, manpower, academic partnerships and technical textiles with Russia's Ivanovo region, a key textile hub. The minister also met Indian workers at a textile factory in Ivanovo, appreciating their contributions and reaffirming India's commitment to safe and legal migration through the e-migrate system. The fourth edition of the India-Australia bilateral military exercise Austra Hind 2025 will be held from October 13 to 26 at Urban Barracks in Perth in Australia. According to the Indian Army, the joint exercise aims to further strengthen the operational capabilities of both armies in undertaking joint company-level operations in urban and semi-urban terrain under the United Nations mandate, reflecting their shared commitment to global peace and security. The two-week training program, held from November 8 to 21, was designed to enhance cooperation and interoperability between the armed forces of both nations. The death toll from the collapse of a multi-story boarding school in Indonesia has climbed to 17 as rescue teams intensified efforts to locate dozens more who were feared trapped underneath or beneath the debris. According to rescue agencies, 2 bodies and a body part were recovered from the rubble on Saturday. This followed the discovery of 9 bodies on Friday, underscoring the scale of this disaster. So the tragic incident occurred on Monday afternoon when part of that school structure gave way suddenly as the students were gathered for prayers. The force of the collapse was so severe that it reportedly caused tremors felt throughout the surrounding neighborhood. Heavy machinery has been deployed to aid in the search, with rescuers racing against time to reach any potential survivors. World Bank's chief economist for South Asia, Francisca Onsoraga, she has said that India has the highest revenue to GDP ratio among the emerging economies. She was talking to DD India, and Onsoraga who was in New Delhi for the Kautilya economic conclave. She spoke about growth opportunities for India while also highlighting the importance of market access to other countries through various trade agreements. She spoke about the big opportunities in the services sector, in service exports as well as goods exports. Let's listen.
With us, we have a very special guest to talk about the economies of South Asia, the Chief Economist of World Bank for South Asia, Francisca Onsoraga. Ma'am, thank you so much for speaking with us. You're here at the Kautilya Economic Conclave. What is your view on the conclave that's taking place in Delhi?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. What is special about Kautilya is the breadth of views you hear. So you have a lot of Indian, very big voices in India, very credible and international voices from India, but you also have the experience from Asia, Japan, China, Korea. You have the experience from Europe, and it's fantastic to see them all compare notes, to see all these experiences come together.
Right. Ma'am, you have given a presentation here at Kautilya Economic Conclave about the economies and other things. So what is it about?
I take two examples of opportunities, not because they're the only ones, but because they're relevant to foreigners, because foreigners tend to want to invest in tradables. So services exports and goods exports. So first on services exports. Something extraordinary is happening in computer services since the release of ChatGPT. Right. So there is clear evidence that at least the BPO sector is enthusiastically embracing artificial intelligence. We can see it in the job postings data. And that sector seems to be transforming. But at the same time, computer services exports have increased much faster than overall exports, so by 30% since the release of ChatGPT, whereas overall services exports have only increased by 10%, much less. So there seem to be real opportunities in services export emerging. And in a way, India is well placed to benefit from digital services, including AI, because the government readiness index by Oxford Insights is much higher. India scores much higher than the average emerging market and developing economy. Actually closer to an advanced economy, the average advanced economy, than the average emerging market. So that's one opportunity, services export. The other opportunity is in goods exports. Right. Trade agreements go far beyond tariffs. Tariffs are just the tip of the iceberg. They give market access. The UK agreement, that's already been agreed. The EU agreement, that's under discussion. Australia, Canada, perhaps the US. If all these agreements actually came through and increased market access, Indian manufacturers would have access to 50% of global GDP, comparable to Vietnam and Mexico. Right. So there's a real opportunity. If this materializes, this could transform India's manufacturing.
Ma'am, you have also worked and talked about revenue to total GDP ratio and how is it comparable to the international standard as well as South Asian standard? What do you have to say about that?
That is one commonality across South Asia. That's revenue to GDP ratios are well below the emerging market and developing economy average. India's is actually the highest in South Asia, or one of the highest.
So that was Francisca Onsoga speaking to us about the Kautilya Economic Conclave, how the South Asian economies and in particular India can really take off with certain changes in the structure of the economy. With camera person Raj Dickey, I'm Akshay Dongre, in India.
In Bangladesh, an outbreak of anthrax has spread across parts of Rangpur division, sparking concern among health authorities and livestock farmers. Officials confirmed that fresh cases of the livestock-borne disease have been detected in multiple sub-districts, with dozens of cattle reportedly infected. Authorities reported 2 deaths caused by anthrax. In response to the outbreak, veterinary teams, they have been dispatched to vaccinate animals and also create awareness. Awareness campaigns are being carried out to warn communities about the dangers of handling sick livestock. Now, health experts have cautioned that anthrax poses a risk to humans through direct contact with infected animals or consumption also of contaminated meat. Let's take a look at other stories making news from around the world. Storm Amy caused widespread damage in the UK and Ireland on Saturday, uprooting trees and damaging vehicles in Northern Ireland, while bringing high seas and flooding to parts of Ireland. Yellow weather warning has been issued for the whole of the UK, as well as at least 80 incoming and more than 70 outgoing flights. They were cancelled at the Netherlands' Schiphol airport. Now, the third tomb of the pharaoh Amenhotep in southern Egypt's Valley of the Kings and Queens officially opened to the public after years of restoration on Saturday. Decades of deterioration had left the structure at risk of collapse. To save it, more than 260 specialists and highly trained technicians worked for restoration. Well, still to come here on DD India NewsHour. We'll get you an expert's take on Hamas's terms for accepting the ceasefire and their viability. India's Trade Minister Piyush Goyal interacts with Indian business delegation in Singapore. And India has seen employment growth of 16.83 crore jobs over 6 years.
Whenever we think of scientists, farmers or shepherds protecting our environment, but the reality is quite different. Across the world, women have often done the quiet, hidden, silent work of protecting our planet.
We've also noticed that because we had a kind of a model farm where we grew multiple crops, farmers around have also started doing that.
In the beginning, it was frightening. I went door to door sharing the idea. I trusted in our sisterhood. Some agreed to work.
A generational change is very important for us because the mountain villages of the Apennines are suffering from strong outmigration and the population is aging.
The main objective of integrated waste management through this program is to recover voluntary donations from vendors that are still fit for human consumption and have nutritional value.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Mark Lin. In the latest development in the conflict in the Israel-Gaza conflict, that is, the news that's just coming in is that US President Donald Trump has warned Hamas. He said that they must move quickly or else all bets will be off. Trump also appreciated Israel for temporarily stopping the bombing. Trump wrote on Truth Social, and I quote now, "I appreciate that Israel has temporarily stopped the bombing in order to give the hostage release and peace deal a chance to be completed. Hamas must move quickly or else all bets will be off. I will not tolerate a delay, which many think will happen, or any outcome where Gaza poses a threat again. Let's get this done fast. Everyone will be treated fairly," unquote. And we are joined by Ambassador C. Rajshekar, former senior diplomat, who will help us unpack this and put it into context. Ambassador Rajshekar, is Hamas in or out after this conditional acceptance of the Trump peace plan?
I think that's a million-dollar question because Hamas itself has responded with a 6-paragraph detailed response. And how Israel has reacted to that, Israel said, yes, it is yes on the border of rejection. Means yes, but, or positive with conditions. Because while the easy things are convenient to agree to both sides about exchange of hostages, so that's a good thing. The difficulty is about disarming the Hamas and post-war role for Hamas, because Hamas insists that Israel has to do complete withdrawal of Gaza. 2 is only Palestinians can determine the future of Palestine. So these red lines or concerns remain, but once exchange of hostages is completed, I suppose that would ease a lot of tension and creative conducive atmosphere backdrop. That's why most of the world has reacted positively, including government of India. Honorable Prime Minister has welcomed this peace plan.
Ambassador Rajshekar, how feasible, is a complete Israeli withdrawal? Wouldn't Israel see this as Hamas actually trying to reclaim authority over the region?
Yes, Prime Minister Netanyahu has said in so many words in his address to the United Nations General Assembly. He said allowing a separate state of Palestine is like allowing Al-Qaeda within a mile of New York soon after 9/11. That means, they are not envisioning any role for Hamas. That is not so much explicit in the 20-point peace plan or so far the formal responses, because everybody is focusing on what is convenient, what is consensual, what is agreeable. But the devil is indeed in the detail. It all depends on the restraint of the Israeli Defense Forces and the wisdom of US and the patience of Palestinians.
So if there's negotiation taking place, will Hamas accept being disarmed completely if, it's allowed a limited role in governance as a compromise?
It has agreed to hand over the administrative control of Gaza. That is no contention there. But about disarmament and post-war governance,
The
these
day after.
two, day after, that Hamas has put it in that it has to be consensually decided within the comprehensive Palestinian framework. So that is how it has placed. So this is matter of subject to further negotiations, but initially it has welcomed, it has agreed to engage, it has agreed to release the hostages in exchange for the 1,700 Palestinians who have been arrested since they are kept in detention since October 7, 2023, and
Right.
also 250 earlier Palestinian prisoners. So I think once the initial things are done, I suppose we can hope that the positive, conducive environment can be created.
Ambassador Rajshekhar, also Hamas's main leaders have all been assassinated. So will Israel continue to eliminate what's left of Hamas if Hamas is seeking a greater role in the Palestinian administration? And that means that everything will just go back and they'll continue with the conflict.
True. In fact, if you and me are thinking, Hamas will certainly think of this and also how much they can trust Israel, because while they were precisely negotiating, discussing the Trump's earlier plan in Doha, Israel has attacked. So trust is low on both sides. It is important that based on this concrete 20-point plan, both sides bona fide with positive intent would agree to negotiate further. Initial signs are positive, but the devil remains in the detail.
Ambassador Rajshekhar, is this a tactical retreat, can we say, where Hamas where Hamas through its Arab sympathizers may actually preserve its influence through proxies? I mean, they could do that.
Exactly. Both sides deploy not only on the part of Hamas, because Hamas also cannot afford to completely be surrounded by ill will as seen as projected as a spoiler. It has to respond positively. We see that in the 6-paragraph response that it has submitted.
Yes.
Paragraph 5, deeply appreciates the efforts of the international community led by US, Egypt and Qatar, and reiterates its keen intent to engage. So that's, on the other hand, we may also see the intent of Israel, because what happened last month was that the main the backers of Israel, the West, has largely isolated Israel. Today, if you see, Israel may be winning the war but losing the world. So its backers in European Union, country after country, France, UK, many countries have recognized Palestinian Authority and have warned that they would further consider about the future of their relations with Israel. So this is not a very desirable situation for Israel. So Israel also needs to evaluate that this is not in its overall welfare. So probably this should also push Israel towards looking at the peace plan more favorably, positively, quickly.
If we look at the US's role, we know that President Trump is, he's told Hamas that they better move quickly or else all bets will be off. Is he willing to negotiate, to continue to negotiate through mediators with Hamas? Because he says he's going to be fair to all parties. What do you think?
No, it's very good. In case it's going to be fair to all, naturally everybody would be very happy. But within this, there are details need to be worked out. While it seems to be well-meaning, top-driven, but as I said earlier, that how to disarm in how many phases, how to link it to Israeli withdrawal, and also what will happen to the future government, what would be the role and say of Hamas. These are factors. President Trump, with all due respect, he has also tried to similarly conclude the war in Ukraine through his meeting with the President Putin in Alaska. So these things need more patience, more focus on details, because the devil is in the detail. Unless and until there is just and enduring peace is worked out, taking the interest of all the stakeholders. Otherwise, it will not be sustainable.
Indeed, we leave it there. Thank you very much, Ambassador C. Rajshekhar, former senior diplomat. So the idea of an eternal peace is clearly not the current situation. Now, moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiled a series of youth-focused initiatives worth over 62,000 crore rupees, giving a decisive push to education, skilling and entrepreneurship. The big announcement came at the Kaushal Dikshant Samaroh, which was held in New Delhi on Saturday. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay reports.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday unveiled various youth-focused initiatives worth over 62,000 crore rupees, giving a decisive push to education, skilling and entrepreneurship across the country. PM Modi launched PM Setu, or Pradhan Mantri Skilling and Employability Transformation through upgraded ITIs, a centrally sponsored scheme with an investment of rupees 60,000 crore. The initiative is being seen as one of the government's most ambitious pushes for youth empowerment.
आज पीएम सेतु योजना की शुरुआत की गई है। देश भर में हमारे 1000 से ज्यादा आईटीआई इंस्टीट्यूशंस को इसका फायदा होगा। पीएम सेतु योजना के माध्यम से इन आईटीआईज को अपग्रेड किया जाएगा। यहां नई मशीनें आएगी, आधुनिक मशीनें आएगी, इंडस्ट्री के ट्रेनिंग एक्सपर्ट्स यहां आएंगे, कारुकलम भी आज की और फ्यूचर की डिमांड के हिसाब से अपग्रेड होगा। एक तरह से पीएम सेतु योजना दुनिया की स्किल डिमांड से भी भारत के युवाओं को जोड़ेगी।
The scheme envisages the upgradation of 1,000 government ITIs in a hub-and-spoke model comprising 200 hub ITIs and 800 spoke ITIs. Each hub will be connected to 4 spokes on an average, creating clusters equipped with advanced infrastructure, modern trades, digital learning systems, and incubation facilities. The initiatives will create significant opportunities for India's youth by integrating education, skill development, entrepreneurship, and improved infrastructure. They aim to support a solid foundation for the country's progress. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday unveiled a series of initiatives focused on youth empowerment and education in Bihar, with special emphasis on skill development and financial support. Among the key announcements was the revamped Mukhyamantri Nishchay Swayam Sahayata Bhatta Yojana, which offers 1,000 rupees monthly allowance and also free skill training to nearly 5 lakh graduates annually. The Prime Minister also inaugurated the Bihar Yuva Ayog, which is a statutory commission for youth aged between 18 and 45, and the Jan Nayak Karpuri Thakur Skill University, which is aimed at industry-oriented vocational education. Furthering the National Education Policy of 2020, the Prime Minister laid the foundation stones for a new academic as well as research facilities at Patna University, BNMU, Madhepura, JP University, Chapra, and also Nalanda University, the Open University of Nalanda, that is, under PM Usha, and dedicated the Bitta campus of NIT Patna, which will accommodate 6,500 students. Additionally, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated 1,200 vocational skill labs across 400 Navodaya Vidyalayas and 200 Eklavya model residential schools in 34 states and union territories. The Union Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurated the Goa government's Majhe Ghar Yojana and laid the foundation for several development projects at the Shama Prasad Mukherjee Indoor Stadium on Saturday. This scheme is a key welfare initiative which is aimed at regularizing and granting ownership rights to residents whose homes are built on government or community-owned lands. In addition to this flagship scheme, the minister also laid the foundation stone for 16 projects and inaugurated 3 completed works covering essential areas such as urban redevelopment and tourism infrastructure. Speaking at the event, Amit Shah emphasized boosting the economy, promoting Make in India and addressing unemployment. India's Minister of Commerce and Industry, Piyush Goyal, held an engaging interaction with the visiting Indian business delegation in Singapore on Saturday. The two-way conversation aimed at encouraging the delegation to tap into opportunities, to build partnerships and also to showcase India's strengths as a trusted global investment destination. In a series of meetings, the Minister, Piyush Goyal, he also met with the CEOs of top companies in Singapore. The minister discussed ways of strengthening cross-border investments and unlocking new growth opportunities for both India and Singapore. The discussions focused on boosting India-focused investments and also the vast avenues that India offers for global investors. It also included ways of expanding collaboration across sectors in India. India, one of the fastest growing economies, has witnessed employment growth of 16.83 crore jobs over the past 6 years. According to the government, total employment in India rose to 64.33 crores in 2023-24. That's up from 47.5 crores, this is numbers, in 2017-18. The rise in women's employment is one of the key pillars of achieving the vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047. So the female employment rate, it nearly doubled between 2017 and 18 and 2023 and 24, with the labor force participation rate increasing from 23.3% to 41.7%. It has been reported that 1.56 crore women in India have joined the formal workforce over the past 7 years. The next generation of GST reforms are expected to play a key role in accelerating India's growth story and also bringing relief to the poor and the middle class. The Maruti Suzuki India Passenger Vehicle Company, it's a giant company in India, it says that the impact of the Prime Minister's GST bonanza has been historic. Shubhendu Ghosh reports.
The new GST reforms have brought down the tax rate on various goods and services, benefiting all sections of society. To talk about the impact on the automobile sector, joining me is Rahul Bharti, Senior Executive Director, Corporate Affairs at Maruti Suzuki. Maruti Suzuki is the largest passenger car maker in India. Rahul, welcome to DD India.
Thank you, Shubhendu. Happy to be here.
First, can you give us a picture of how the recent GST tax reforms and relief has benefited you and your customer, especially this festive season?
Absolutely. So, Shubhendu, this is a historic high for us, and we really have to thank the Honorable Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. The sales have been very good. Customers have lapped up. And for example, in the festive season, first 8 days of the Navratras, we've done a record 1.65 lakh car deliveries, which is probably more than double than the deliveries in the same period last year. Even in terms of bookings, we have a higher number of bookings, and we're working fund days to make sure that we have sufficient cars available. for these deliveries ahead.
Rahul, there have been significant milestones for Prime Minister Modi's vision for Make in India, Make for the World. For example, I learned Suzuki, a Japanese multinational, is manufacturing in India and exporting to Japan and rest of the world. How do you map the rise of India's manufacturing and exports potential in the sector?
Sure. So I think Make in India, Make for the World is extremely strategic because it helps us expand our GDP. It takes our manufacturing sector ahead, and we are able to, capture global demand. And Maruti Suzuki have been perfectly aligned with it. We've identified exports as a strategic focus, and we are doing now about 1 lakh per quarter, which we were doing about 4 years ago. We were doing 1 lakh a year, so 4 times in about 4.5 years. And this September, for example, our exports grew 52%, 42,000 cars. And this year, we'll probably be closing more than 4 lakh car exports in the year. So, for example, our EV, Suzuki Motor Corporation has decided that their global manufacturing hub will not be in Japan, but in India and Gujarat. And from India, we are exporting to more than 100 countries of the world. So India is the new global manufacturing hub for MNCs like at least Suzuki Motor Corporation. And they're so happy manufacturing in India and exporting back into Japan. Japan is now our second largest export destination.
And finally, there are many challenges facing the global economy. What is your assessment of the road ahead for the Indian economy with Prime Minister Modi's message of Swadeshi and self-reliance?
I think the scale and the heterogeneity which India has, it's extremely important to have self-reliance and Atmanirbhar, as you rightly said. We need to secure our global value chains. We see a lot of headwinds and a wave of protectionism and tariff wars, etc. It will cause some headwinds, but fortunately, the big anchorage about India is domestic demand. And it's doing very strong. The Indian economy, the GDP growth rate, we revised it upward to 6.8%. I think India is in a very, very enviable spot as compared to the rest of the world.
On that note, Rahul Bharati, thank you for speaking with It India.
Thank you, Shilin.
Well, Operation Sarp Vinash was an extremely important military operation of the Indian Army against terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. It was conducted in 2003 to neutralize a concentration of Pakistani-sponsored foreign terrorists in the jungle lair in Pir Panjal Mountains. And, well, this operation was conducted under the command of Lieutenant General Lidder, who has penned a book about it. Now, the book launch in Delhi on Saturday, DD India correspondent Vishal Barrister caught up with the writers of this book, who are General Lidder and Jayashree Lakshmikant.
After 2 decades, this book has come out, Operation Sarp Vinash, and the writer, General Lidder, and the co-writer, Jayashree. Sir, it's been 2 decades now, and now the book is out. So how do you feel?
I feel it was necessary to publish the account of Sarp Vinash 1, which is this book, because there's been, every time there is an incident in J&K, the public is talking of Sarp Vinash 2.
Jayashree, the problem still exists.
Tell me, you surely know that Indian Army has conducted countless counterinsurgency operations. Then why is it that every time there is an incident in Rajouri or Punch, people refer to Operation Sarp Vinash and say that, there should be a Sarp Vinash 2.0? Certainly, there was something great about Operation Sarp Vinash.
Well, absolutely, that's an achievement. So you've said that one who controls the banyan tree controls the insurgency. And the title itself is quite interesting, Sarp Vinash.
I had carried out the planning and presented the plan to the Army Commander General Nanavati. He asked me, what are you going to call this operation? So I told him, sir, operation will be called Operation Sarp Vinash. Because these people are like snakes, they get into the bill and it is our duty to fish them out from there and finish them.
And what's the secret about that banyan tree?
Banyan tree is my life's learning. I've been to all the counterinsurgency areas that India has fought, Sri Lanka, J&K twice, and Assam. What I understood from these operations is that if you don't, it's all about the people.
So there you hear General Leader, he says that it is very important to keep the operation on with cameraman Kalrai, Delhi. This is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
And let's get you the sports news now. And in fact, Shubman Gill has been announced as Team India's new ODI captain, taking over from Rohit Sharma. The BCCI made this announcement. The India squad for the upcoming 3-match ODI series against Australia Down Under, with Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli both featuring. Shreyas Iyer has been named the ODI vice captain. The series starts on October 19, and this marks Gill's inaugural series as the captain of the ODI team, following his previous leadership roles in both the Test and T20 formats. Although Rohit has stepped down as the captain, he remains part of the ODI squad, and he rejoins the Indian team alongside the veteran batter Virat Kohli. A clinical bowling performance or bowling performances by Ravindra Jadeja and Mohammad Siraj helped India thump the West Indies by an innings and 140 runs in the first test at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. India declared on an overnight score of 448 for 5 and then blew away the West Indies for a paltry 146 in their second innings to go 1-0 up in this 2-match series. Siraj and Jadeja were the lead bowlers for India with 3 wickets and 4 wickets each. And Siraj also completed a 7-wicket match haul, continuing his fine recent form. Alec Athanaze was the top scorer for the visitors, followed by Justin Greaves, but those knocks did not help their cause. Earlier on day 2, we saw KL Rahul, Ravindra Jadeja and Dhruv Jurel smash tons for India in making an emphatic total, where India declared overnight. Sri Lanka is gearing up for the much-awaited high-voltage clash of India versus Pakistan at the ongoing Women's World Cup in the ODI format. The super encounter will take place at the Colombo Premadasa Stadium. It's on the 5th of October. Team India had won the opening encounter. On the other hand, Pakistan lost its first match of the tournament, and they're coming to the crease low on confidence. That's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app, available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn. Thank you very much for watching DD India. Namaskar.